I'm talking about straining for that logo on the side of your helmet and not the name on your back.
Yes, sir.
Because we know what it represents. It represents everybody here you see and everybody you can't that we've talked about. I'm here to strain with you, man. I swear to God, I'm here to strain with you. Let's go. Everything you got, strain with everything you got. Let's go. Bills on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bills.
You're listening to the Off Tackle with John Fina show with your host, Joe Miller. Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into the Off Tackle with John Fina show. Brought to you by the Market Dominator team on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network, presented by Picasso's Pizza. Treat yourself, John, to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's. We are Buffalo Pizza, shipping local and nationwide. Order online at picassospizza.net. I am the host of this wonderfully remarkable show, the Off Tackle with John Fina show. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. And sitting beside me is the star of the show, offensive tackle for the Buffalo Bills for 10 years, Mr. John Fina himself. John, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Joe Miller. How you feeling?
Doing good. I'm doing really, really good. Welcome to everybody in the chat. I see Pat Moran's in the room. Richard Rush is in the room. Amanda McCulloch's in the room. Daniel Gowries is in the room. Jason Taylor, Sarah Larson. Like, it's just the who's who of Bills Mafia is up in the room right now. Welcome to all of you guys. It's so good to have all of you joining us for this. We have football version of Off Tackle with John Fina.
But I don't even know how people survive without football, Joe Miller.
Dude, the best what's the word? The best teaser that was ever done was when you did it with your helmet on. Like, I still cherish. I know it's in your Twitter feed, but I still cherish. That was just so candid and perfectly done. Like, everybody, all of his picture, John Fina sitting at home with his Bills helmet on, waiting for football season.
You know, that's the only thing I was wearing too.
Oh God. So it's going back to the rookie year pro star football card, whatever. It was on a t-shirt this weekend.
Stop.
It was
amazing. I can't take it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you are indeed tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. And like and subscribe, whatever platform you're viewing this on. If you were listening to it in podcast form the day after or a couple days after, like and subscribe to whatever podcast platform that you are on, the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. Also, we are Super Chat Live. So if you want to ask John a question or if you've got a comment for John, feel free to throw a Super Chat in there. We try to get to the comments. We try to interact as much as we can, but John is chatty and he keeps my attention on him, and a lot of times totally making it up. But yeah, if you want to super chat us, that'd be great. But let's do this. Let's hear from our show sponsor, John Spascheck, the Market Dominator.
Hello, Buffalo football family. My name is John Spascheck, and I am the Market Dominator, as well as the very proud sponsor of the John Fina Show, hosted by Joe Miller. You know, these are some of my very good friends, and I love what they do because they bring such a high level of excellence to the show, breaking the game down, helping us as fans understand it more, and so we can engage with love and support for our Buffalo football team. Now, folks, if you're looking to engage in real estate, I'm your guy, because I will bring these same qualities to the table for you to help you win in this competitive market. So whether you're selling or buying, you need to call 716-570-3298 if you want to win. Let's go, Buffalo!
Let's go, Buffalo. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Market Dominator. Please give him a call, 716-570-3298, 716-570-3298. Tell him John Fina sent you.
Hey, John Spascheck inspires me, man. I just love all of his clips. I mean, we're lucky to have him. He's great.
I agree 100% that we are absolutely 1,000% lucky to have him.
Yeah,
but let's talk about what a wonderful weekend it was. So first things first, it was the first annual, and maybe like it will be annual.
Oh God.
# FinaFest. Put on by Dan Frederick. So Smoker Freddy put it on, and he does wonderful things. He's got bounce houses and tents, and he does party rentals and all kinds of crazy stuff. He's got a wonderful kind of business and operation out there in Lancaster. I believe his office is over by Bobolinks. If you need any type of party rentals or whatever, he's the guy to call. However, give me your thoughts. That thing was off the hook.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, the most gracious host I think I've ever experienced, and this was the brainchild of so many people that I'm friends with on Twitter, and I kind of like blushed a little bit and said, okay, if you want to do it, and Freddie just pulled out all the stops. I mean, if you had little kids, the kids had a blast. I mean, I didn't see half the kids all the time because they were like 4 bounce houses. I mean, there was.
He had 2 connected. He had 2 obstacle courses.
He had a foam cannon. The foam cannon, that was hilarious. And I think he was like shooting T-shirts, like taking down geese.
He had an air-conditioned bathroom.
It was amazing. Oh, yeah, the mobile bathroom, that was insane. Yeah, and, it was welcome to all. It was not a secret, of course, but it was kind of like, I think maybe everybody was all scratching their head like, how's this going to go? Right. But I have an unfortunate feeling for Dan Freddy's wife, Danielle, who was incredibly tolerant and the sweetest person to allow us to like literally just take over every inch of their outdoor space.
Yeah.
And Dan, he barbecued, he smoked food, and I got to meet just some of the most wonderful people, just the biggest Bills fans. I know there's more of you. We'll see you next year. Poor Danielle. It was great. It was great.
Left before the pork belly came out, and the pork belly was unbelievable.
Oh, it was all great. And, just everything that I missed and loved about Buffalo represented in the people there who are just genuine, great Western New York Bills fanatics who just, and, it wasn't like crazy, like, autograph signing thing. I got an opportunity, I think, to speak to everybody there in a real way, a real exchange, just an understanding of who they are, what they do, top to bottom. And, I'm honestly humbled and appreciative, and I look forward to it growing and growing. Maybe we get a couple of my teammates to come back and the hashtag gets longer, and Freddie's wife probably has a little bit of a mini heart attack. And I got to have my baby Jones filled, they got the cutest little baby girl. I got to hold a 8-month-old baby, and mine are all grown up. So it was very sweet. I had a blast.
Yeah, it was incredible. And even for me, I know that it's special for you being a former player and the way, just being ingratiated. And a lot of that is because of who you are back to us. But even as a member of the Mafia, like there's something special about just that. I don't want to say that group, but there's a core group, like a synergy of like 40 or 50 or 60 people that are kind of building this relationship as far as with each other, which is also ingratiating to anybody on the outskirts. So I didn't even know if I was supposed to invite people. Right. So like this thing is like, it's going to be at Freddie's house. And I was like, do I retweet that to my followers? Or
yeah. I like I said, I think we all kind of approached it with a little bit of like, what are we doing here? What's it going to look like?
Right.
Yeah, but it was pretty terrific.
Yeah, it was great to connect.
And I look forward to meeting more people next year.
And I think that's what it's about. And Bills Mafia does that better than anybody else. Somebody tweeted it out today. Like we're all different people from all different backgrounds. We whether it's upbringing or where we live or where we're from or how we got here or how we became Bills fans financially, demographically, we're all different, but we're a very, very accepting group. And it's just a very cool vibe. And I love the opportunity to be there. And I hope next year, I hope this thing blows up. I know that it's got my name on it, which is a little weird.
It is a little weird. It is a little weird.
Imagine this thing down at Centennial Park, Ralph Wilson Centennial Park, like down on the waterfront. I mean, and there's 2,000 people there. I mean, it would be unbelievable if something like that.
It'll be a long party because I want to talk to everybody.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
And engage with everyone.
other players like maybe Drew Bledsoe would have to come. But yeah.
So. It was a blast.
To that point.
And thanks to Jim Kelly, right? Because it's Kelly for Kids weekend. I haven't been back to Jim's tournament in 25 years. Beautiful jersey, buddy. And, and I was like, you know what? I felt separated from the team. We've talked about that. I've really come to appreciate everyone who's a fan, and capping that off with, the party at Freddie's house. And then, now I was here this weekend. Jim flew me in, right? I'm sure his handlers took care of everything. But Jim was the most gracious host for Kelly for Kids this weekend. You were with me last night at the Gala, and it was fantastic. I got to meet one of my all-time heroes. Joe got to see me in total fanboy mode.
It was amazing.
So embarrassing, but yeah. I connected. I'd never met Drew Bledsoe, and I'm a huge fan.
I should have posted pictures. I'm gonna see if I can get pictures onto my computer. Keep talking.
I spent time with Jamie Mueller today. I met Johnny Damon, future Hall of Famer MLB.
Right.
It was just incredible. Just a great bunch of people. And I'll tell you what, they opened their wallets too. I mean, a lot of money got spread around for Kelly for Kids, and that was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, if you want to view some of the pictures, go to my Twitter page and actually my Instagram, which I think leaks over to my Facebook. You'll see pictures of John meeting Anthony Munoz, which literally was a cool moment for me just to stand back and watch John fangirl over another NFL player.
We could say fanboy. Okay, but now, Joe, have you made the connection now, right? So, I try to be gracious to people who want to connect with me, because in the same way, I am a fan. I told you when I met LaDainian Tomlinson, I was kind of shaken. And when I met Anthony Munoz last night, I felt like a freaking 16-year-old kid. And it's that kind of, and that was special. Anthony Munoz could have just kicked me to the curb, but we had a very short but meaningful conversation. He remembered me, and I there was a tear. I swear a tear was welling in my eye. And I think to myself, well, I want to be to everybody the same person that Anthony Munoz and LaDainian Tomlinson was to me. And Johnny Damon, man, oh my God. I'm not even a huge baseball fan. I'm like, all right, it's Johnny Damon. I didn't even know it was him, because he just looks like such a regular dude, and he talks just like a regular guy. And I was like, okay, I saw him 14 times last night. I walked by him like 6 times today, and I thought he was just there for the tournament. I'm such a buffoon. And he was great, man. I took a picture with him. I just texted it to you. Did you get it?
Yes, early. Yeah. So what was amazing to me about the Anthony Munoz thing was that he was taller than you. That was surprising to me when you think about, as time goes on, because we talked about Joe D, right? Joe DeLamalure, who's a Hall of Famer for Buffalo Bills. That was part of the electric company that blocked for O.J. Simpson. Joe D isn't much bigger than me, and I'm 6 feet tall. Like, he's a kind of a small dude. So I was surprised when Anthony Munoz was taller than you. I was like, oh.
Yeah, he only has me by like half an inch, bro.
But he was taller than you. I was still surprised, but yeah. But
well,
anyway.
he was wearing a cork wedge heel, so that put him up there.
There were many favorite moments for me. That was one, meeting Eric Wood and getting a picture of the 270s next to each other. That was a cool moment.
Oh yeah, Eric is amazing. What a great guy. And he's always says like, hey man, I just borrowed your number. And I'm like, come on, bro.
That dude is ripped. Like, it's unbelievable. Both of you are small, but it's amazing. That dude's like he looks like, I don't even know. He could probably go play professional baseball right now. He's ripped. And then when we were standing at the bar getting a couple of drinks, and you're like, "Who's that dude?" And I was like, "That's John Randall making eyes at you right now."
So I didn't recognize John Randall from across the bar, but I did meet him at a preseason or regular season game some time ago. And I was like, "Oh my God!" I was still afraid of him. Even though we weren't players anymore, I was like, oh, God, that's John Randall. I'm afraid if I go over there, he's going to beat me in a pass rush. I've been retired for 20 years. And that guy's sense of humor, he's a genuine deal. It was the whole damn thing. All of my old teammates that I bumped into. I talked to Steve Tasker for a long time today, and
that's cool.
Pete Metzelaars was there this weekend.
Pete was huge.
Yeah. Well, we always knew. Yeah, Pete's a monster. Yeah.
It was a really cool event. I'm trying to think if there was something else. There was some, so you were talking with John Randall, and he was just a very down to earth, just everyday kind of guy too. I got to ask him about what he's doing now. We talked about the fact that a rule was made about the eye black that he wore. So like the eye black rule that exists is because of John Randall and how he wore his eye black. But you guys were talking about, the name is just escaping me. You were talking about another offensive
Dolman.
Chris Dolman, that's right. Talk
defensive end.
Oh, I thought it was an offensive lineman, and he was showing you how to set up, and it was more flat-footed. I was going to ask you.
Zimmerman.
That's right, Zimmerman.
And flat-footed is a big expression.
I thought that's what you said.
I am going to use that one against you forever.
You said the word flat-footed last night. One of you said.
No, I said flat set.
Flat set.
It's a different thing. Flat set.
Flat set with case. That's all we need.
Yeah. That's right, buddy. Yeah. So, and it was great. I mean, and we talked about Chris Dolman, legend. And I was just so surprised to hear what Dolman used to say, talking like how to be a pro and carrying a briefcase. I was like, this is gold.
Yeah,
John Randall was just so humble and a funny guy and a great dry sense of humor. Yeah, not like me. I'm like pie in the face, whoopee cushion guy.
You're a clown. But Randall talking about Dolman and Dolman walking up to him with his briefcase and saying to him, "What is that?" And John's like, "It's my backpack."
It's my backpack.
And he's like, "Don't you think you need a briefcase?" And John's like, "No, I got everything in my backpack." It was an amazing event, and I'm thankful that I got to go. So thank you so much. And then I went down to the blackjack table and won $500. So I can't complain about that either. So, but and catching Bledsoe on the.
I should have just given you my chips because that's where they ended up going.
Well, not technically. I mean, yes, but I didn't.
They might have.
I didn't beat you at blackjack.
She settled us out from third base to first, so she was moving chips from me to you. I'm sure my fingerprints are all over those chips.
The best part was Frank, the dealer, not knowing how to count.
The guy was asleep. I've never seen a dealer yawn. Like
there, I don't remember.
How many times did the pit have to come over and fix a mistake?
You had 18 showing, and there was 2 5s. You only counted one of the 5s. He goes, "You've got 13. You lose." And you're like, "Wait a minute, I've got 18. That's 13."
And in the Gala third base, he was trying to collect her card, saying she lost, and she smacked his hand. All right, we digress.
I think Frank is an NFL player too. Not for long. He's not going to be there for long. It was amazing.
That was awesome.
Let's do this. Let's before we jump into the top of the what we really want to discuss, which is Buffalo Bills football. Why don't you go ahead and jump on that House Capital read real quick and talk about our second sponsor?
Absolutely. We got a great sponsor with House Capital for your mortgage lending. When you're looking to buy a house, everyone's got a guy. You might need some work done on your roof. Your buddies got a guy. Need an inspection? Oh, I know someone. And when you're looking to get your financing together, Brian Belser from House Capital Corporation can be your guy. They help make the mortgage process simple, hassle-free, and understandable. At House Capital, their preferred relationships with some of the top lenders give you the edge up in getting the financing that you need. Take it to the house with House Capital. House, a registered mortgage broker, LISN, Department of Financial Services. All loans arranged through third-party providers. Equal housing opportunity. House Capital, 500 First Street, NMLS 1549644.
Are you the Matchbox car guy?
I don't know what that means.
You don't remember Matchbox cars, the little tiny cars, and the dude that talked?
Yeah, sure.
Are you that guy?
I could be. Anyway, House Capital for all your mortgage lending needs. Awesome. I love the disclaimer, man. I got to get that down. I got to get faster and less coherent. I don't know that I could be any less coherent. I beat you. I knew you were so fun.
It was coming. It was literally it was brewing. Like it was about to come to the top. So thoughts on this football game, and I will let you kind of go first. Or do you want me to go first? You want me to go first? You want to go first as far as our thoughts on the Bills versus the Colts?
Well, I'll throw something out there real quick to kind of set the tempo, but it was really hard for me to sit down and watch the game. This whole weekend was packed. I went straight from the airplane to the podcast with Joe Marino, Joe Miller, and Drew. What's this podcast called?
The Rockpile Report.
The Rockpile Report. Sorry, man.
I gotta stop you real quick. So it was a special moment. So we get asked, you and I get asked to do a redo of last year's podcast with the Rockpile guys at O'Neill's Stadium Inn across from the stadium. And you and I were like, that'd be great, to be awesome. Chris, the other half of the Rockpile Report, can't show up, but Joe Marino's in town, and Joe Marino's going to show up mainly because he wanted to meet you. Joe Marino showed up because he wanted to meet Fina. And I was like,
I felt the same way.
And I was like, you know what? We're going to be missing a guy. Maybe you can jump in the show. So we throw him in the show for sure. So it's Drew, me, you, Joe Marino. And off the cuff, Drew opens the show and says, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? And Joe Marino stops him and says, wait a second. It's important for us. So Joe Marino, for those of you that don't know, is Locked on Bills, which is the #1 Bills podcast like that there is. And he took literally 2-3 minutes honoring Drew as the first podcaster in Bills media Bills content creation. It was just very cool to see the guy that's on the top honor the guy that's like the first. So I had to digress a little bit because that was a really, really cool special moment. And I was thrilled to be at the table when that happened. That was awesome.
Yeah. And if you're not following Joe Marino, you really should. I mean, the guy, I had the opportunity to kind of talk to him a little bit about offensive line technique, tackle sets, and things like that. And he's a super knowledgeable guy. He does an incredible job. I can't imagine the hours of film he puts in. So that was a great experience. And anyway, so we do the podcast, and I go out that night, and I don't get enough sleep. I drive right to Rochester to play golf in Gigi's Playhouse fundraiser for Down syndrome with my cousin. Had a blast, and then we're right to my cousin's house, and it's like Fina Fest of the actual Finas, and my whole Rochester family's there. We had a great time. I crash at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. I get up in the morning, and I'm like straight to freaking Buffalo for Fina Fest. Then from there, I go to Jim Kelly's Gala with you, and then I'm playing golf. Oh my God. I always do this to myself. I always overbook myself. So I hadn't had a lot of time to watch the game. So to be fair, right? I mean, everybody listening has probably watched the game more than I have. I watched the first quarter. I started diving into the third quarter and the show started. But I got to say, man, this is what I saw. And this is what resonates with me. We talk about Buffalo being a team that can get to the big game. Yeah. We talk about guys wanting to come to Buffalo, right? How that's crazy, right? Want to come to Buffalo. 10 years ago, people were running the other direction.
Right.
So what does that mean? What that means is on the field, I saw things in a preseason game, energy-wise, tracking players, reaction, like mid-season performance quality, just excitement, aggression, guys flying around. And I was like, wow, this does not look like a bunch of preseason guys. Like, people are going to fight from the third to the fourth string to make this roster because this is a special place to be. I picked a couple of things out. I just love the way James Cook runs the ball.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who just takes it and goes downhill, but he makes one read and he finds his seam, and that seam doesn't have to be this big. He's looking for the edge of the offensive lineman's shoulder pads. If the O lineman's engaged with the defender, he just in his heart believes I can make 3 right there. I can make 4 right there, and just says, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that's a special quality, because I don't know how many of y'all have been hit by a 300-pound guy with a helmet and shoulder pads on. You're not looking to get that done. That is not high in your priority list, and he doesn't care. You could just tell he doesn't care.
Yeah, James Cook. So one of the reads on him was that he's not great with contact balance through the line. So when it gets messy, he has trouble. And he showed a little bit. Now it's preseason, first game doesn't really matter and doesn't mean anything. We know, and you can talk about it probably as much as it's game speed, and it's game speed over scrimmages and 2-minute situations in training camp. It's not week 1 game speed. It's still different, right? So my guess is he's going to look a little bit different, but he got engulfed by the pile a couple times. Somebody get a paw on him, he couldn't get away, but he looks amazingly quick. He looks very decisive. All the things you talked about was incredible. I was impressed with Zack Moss. I talked about him on Saturday.
Yes.
He is. We didn't know he was not healthy last year, and I didn't even find out that he wasn't healthy until he was on Jay Spence's show, and he's like, "Yeah, I had screws in my foot all last year." It's like, wait, you weren't on the injury report. You had screws in your foot,
whereas you just have a screw loose, Joe.
Yeah, it's because I get it from the best guy in town. You got it right. Good job.
You be in charge of your own screws.
But he looked very smooth. I think Zack Moss, as much as there was an expectation that the Bills would keep Singletary, Cook, and probably like a fringe guy like Raheem Blackshear, who had an amazing football game. I think Moss has a lot to make this team. He looks different. He looks better. He looks healthy. For me, James Cook looked great. I thought Khalil Shakir was as billed. Literally, like I think I said to you on the phone, he looked like Gabe Davis at times. The routes they had him running were Gabe Davis routes in that first quarter, and he executed brilliantly.
There's a lot to like about Khalil Shakir, right? I mean, I looked at the first catch he had, and for me, I'm thinking to myself, he looked a little lazy in the cut, but the secondary was so soft. You can make that nice, easy cut rather than, really break it off stiff and put yourself in kind of a funky situation to catch the ball where your shoulders are a little flatter. So you break it off a little softer, and he just knew he found the soft spot, and that's a good quality to have from a guy that's young. This is where I need to be, and you have to be able to say, all right, well, if I'm running a 15-yard out, what kind of wiggle room do I have? What am I trying to achieve here? In the end, it's like, get open, catch the ball, right? Don't run yourself into coverage. Don't run the route like a robot and then look for the ball, and then you got to continue to turn your shoulder. It was very smooth. He looks smooth.
Yeah. What were your impressions of Case Keenum in the first quarter?
He overthrew a couple of balls down there in the red zone that he could have brought down a little bit. I thought he threw off his back foot on one that he could have stepped into. The pick, really, I thought that was Crowder's fault, frankly. I mean,
well, they did that one absolutely. The one, yeah. Jamison Crowder has to make that catch. To me, he was one who hurt himself. Jamison Crowder, I felt, hurt himself in that football game. Yeah,
you got to make that catch. So, I mean, in the stat line, it's always like, ooh, he threw 2 picks, right? Well, again, I mean, you could say, well, it could have a little more touch. I mean, I don't know how many of you people have thrown a football to a guy that's running full speed across, the middle of the field and trying to time it up right.
4 speed.
Yeah. So, it could have been a little better ball, but Crowder, I don't care, and by the way, I was listening to Tasker call the game, and he was great. I loved how he was talking about what the Bills are trying to achieve this preseason, looking at the depth of roster, making sure that everybody that got signed as a Buffalo Bill, whether they were a draft pick, returner, or a UDFA, that they get a chance to make this squad. But regardless, if you make your break and you're running across the middle, I don't care if you're 1 step out of your break or you're 15 steps out of your break, your hands got to be ready. Yeah. I mean, you just got to make – if you don't make the catch, man, bat it down. Like spike it like volleyball.
One of the things – go ahead, sorry.
No, I think, it's like we talked about on the Rockpile report. Training camp is different than a preseason game. Preseason game is different than an opener, or a regular season game. So I think Case Keenum, the speed is a little bit different. The bodies are real flying at you. You know that those defensive tackles and ends, they don't. You're not wearing a red jersey anymore.
Nope.
So you're like 8 months removed from the regular season. So
right.
It takes a lot of stones to stand in there knowing guys the size of Daquan Jones and Tim Settle and AJ Epinesa are flying at you and say, yeah, I got to step into this throw.
Right.
It takes a lot. I don't think people realize it all the time, man. I mean, I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do what he says. So the question is that I have before we move on to kind of some things, well, even some more good stuff, because there was a lot of good stuff in that game that I enjoyed. And I'm one of those ones that enjoys preseason because there's not a whole lot of stress. I don't have to worry about the Bills losing a football game that they should win, like the Jaguars game last year. What is it as a player? So you're in training camp, and I know training camp was different for you guys back then. I think it was 6 weeks long. It was crazy. It was a grind. But going from training camp into preseason, and that's the other thing too. I remember going to preseason games as a kid because when I was in high school, because I lived in Florida. So like my last hoorah here, I ended my summer with my dad every year going to a preseason game. You guys would take the field, you guys and Jimbo, you'd run right down the field in about a minute and a half, score a touchdown, off the field, helmets off. But what's the I want to say the juice? What's the difference between a preseason game for you as a player going in knowing that like, yeah, we're just going to be in for a series or whatever versus, like I said, week 1 when everything's coming at you, times 10?
Well, yeah, I think there's 2 questions there. I'll address them both. I mean, the difference from the 90s, early 90s to now is the coaching is different. Like McDermott isn't just looking at 1 and 1.5s, right? I mean, he's looking deep.
Right.
And his way of running the team is way more intense. And frankly, I love it. I don't know that I would have loved it if I played for him. But, it's that intensity, and he's setting the tempo, and I think he's setting a real expectation. And when I got to Buffalo, these were seasoned Super Bowl veteran players, and
right.
And it was a very different expectation of what you were going to do in the preseason. My rookie year, of course, I felt differently. I felt like I was going to play 3 quarters, and there was a lot more pressure. And now he's kind of McDermott and staff are really setting the expectation of these guys that, you all got a chance. There's true competition between that 1 spot all the way to the 3 spot.
Right.
And whether there actually is or whether there isn't, I can see in the performance there's a belief.
Yeah.
But for us, it was like, for me, I felt like I probably mentally would have benefited from a little bit more preseason work in the actual games, because there's a difference between game shape and practice shape.
Well, that brings up a huge conversation that I don't have a problem spending 5 minutes on, which is there's conversations, real conversations in the NFL right now, to include Buffalo, of never playing your starting quarterback in the preseason, never playing Stephon Diggs, Mitch Morse, guys that like are amazingly important to your team, just completely leaving them off the field for preseason. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think at least there's 3 preseason games. I think you got to get them a couple of drives in that first game or that last game, pardon me. The problem with it is it's the true game shape, not just physically, but mentally and durability of stress, right? So I just can't explain what it takes out of your body to have a 10-play drive, Your arms, the shoulders are burning. It's like a boxer. They're only 16-ounce gloves, right? Why can't a boxer raise his hand in the 5th round, right? Because they feel like they weigh 30 pounds. And I just think that if you go into game 1 and you haven't had the 30-pound gloves on at least once in the preseason, it's kind of a shock,
Right.
And there's a mental wiring that goes. I don't see it. But again, I don't sign the front of the paycheck nor the back anymore. So
while we're on the subject about differences and changes that are being made right now, one of them is in training camp. You see them now wearing those padded crowns. So it's basically the pads that are inside the helmet. They've now made a shell for outside the helmet.
Yeah, my kid wears one.
Right, and it makes perfect sense. 1,000%.
If they work.
If they work, right, but just to keep the CTE down, to keep the concussions down. But here's my question. Somebody brought this up. I think it was on one of the radio stations. I heard it somewhere. It may have been Sal Capaccio. You go through training camp, whatever you're going through, blah, 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 and you're doing that, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because so all of training camp is this buildup to getting used to running, to getting used to getting hit, getting used to having the ball thrown at you 1,000 miles an hour, getting used to running routes against the guy and getting jammed, whatever. And one of those things that they were bringing up was the collision of the helmets, because you guys in the trench, I mean, you go face to face first, bang, head first. if preseason game or even week 1 is the first time you're hearing and feeling that violence, helmet to helmet, right in the trench, do you think that's like, is that something you'd want to warm up to? I guess is the question I have in camp.
Well, so here's what I'll say to that. 599 head-to-head encounters are run-of-the-mill, and you don't need to experience them because they just happen.
Right.
And then there's one. And you can't prepare for the one. Right. So it either happens or it doesn't. Right. And we now know when they do happen. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's 9,999 and then one. So you're never preparing for the one. And then the 9,999 are all routine. Mm. So there's routine collisions, right. And there's no real need for that. To me, it's more of I'm a 300-pound guy and I need to, be under stress and have some muscle weakness and dig within myself. Even if it's just one 10-play drive is brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah. It just always made it was an interesting point. And I would think that for a guy that has talked about getting ear holed before, right? I think that's something that I might want to experience at 60%. Or 70%.
Do you remember last night when that woman was running around the Gala catching balls? And I was like, you guys all put down $100 and I'll tackle her and take her to the ground. She would have got that one hit. That would have been unbelievable. I probably would be in an orange jumpsuit right now serving time in county. I'd be in county. Like, where's Fina? He can't make the show. He's in county.
The Off Tackle with John Fina show will be postponed for the foreseeable future.
No, dude, I'd be like, hey, could you go to the hotel and get my laptop? I got to do a show. From Municipal County Lockup, Cell Block D, it's a John Fina Off Tackle show.
Couple other good points for me. Raheem Blackshear. So Raheem Blackshear, I don't know what to make of, and I talked about this on Saturday. I don't know what to make of the Antonio Williams last year. Those that are listening that don't know necessarily aren't familiar with Antonio Williams. Antonio Williams was the 4th string, 5th string running back for this football team for the last several years. And every time preseason happened, training camp, end of the year game, he got in. There was just an energy and a juice to him that was different than Devin Singletary, Zack Moss, and whoever else was on this football, Matt Breida, whoever else was on this football team at the time. And Raheem Blackshear is an undrafted free agent from, I believe, Virginia Tech, that he's a rookie on this team right now. And he played, and I don't think you got to any of his stuff. So I'd be interested to know after you do watch it, if you want to just shoot me a message, what is the expectation and why do some of these guys, what does it take for a guy like that to break out? If you're seated at the bottom of the roster, I mean, is there, when you come out of the game, is there a level for the coaching staff and the players to be like, yeah, but that was against the 3rd and 4th string guys that aren't going to be around?
That's when you look immediately to his contribution on special teams, if he's on them, right? If he's not on special teams, then it's going to be really hard to keep that guy.
He was.
Right. Well, there you go. So what did he look like on special teams? That's what you got.
He returned, I think, 2 kicks in the game.
Oh, okay. So I did see one of his returns.
Yeah, he looked really good.
He had did he have the 50-yard kickoff return?
It was long. I don't remember how long it was, but it was long.
Up the far sideline.
Smooth, decisive, fast, right? Yeah.
Those things help, man. I mean, they do. And if you look at the Buffalo Bills and, the return game has been, kind of a baseline. It's been flat. It hasn't been backbreaking. It hasn't been game changing. So if you're the 4th string guy and you got no chance to be the 3rd string guy, then you better hustle. You better hustle on special teams.
Yeah, you're looking job, if not here, then someplace else, right?
Yeah. But the beauty of the way McDermott runs the preseason now, right? With and the guys probably appreciate this very much. The amount of time the 2s and 3s and even 4s will get over the course of the next game and part of the 3rd game is that's all resume building, right? I mean, that is all resume building. If you don't think all 31 other teams are looking at their roster and saying, well, what else is out there? Who's on our hot list? Who might get released? We want that guy,
Right.
And that's a great opportunity too. Look, we all want our favorite guys to be Buffalo Bills, but they're going to cut down that roster from 80 to 53, right? That's 27 guys. And then they, of course, want to bring guys back for that practice squad. But
they've made 5 cuts already.
Yeah, they made 5 cuts. I get it. But the last cut is 80 to 53. And then I forget how many you can have on the practice squad. Is it 12? But you still run the risk of losing those guys. So, the sword cuts both ways. You show too much of a guy and, that guy disappears once he gets released.
One of those guys right now that you're talking about is Isaiah Hodgins. Isaiah Hodgins, a 6th-round pick out of Oregon State, actually has NFL legacy experience. His dad was an NFL player. For those that aren't familiar necessarily with Isaiah's story, he came in and he actually had an injury. He had a shoulder injury pre-existing coming out of college, and it was a COVID year. I know his story acutely. So they shut him down in preseason through all of OTAs and mini camps and everything else. People were raving about him, his knowledge of the playbook, his ability to get open, how he was practicing was great. And then the Bills shut him down and put him on IR so that he could have season-ending shoulder surgery, rather. And I want to give you a picture. So this happened during the COVID year. So he was in Buffalo, and he couldn't be around anybody. So he's on IR with his wife and his family, right? In Buffalo, strange town, from the West Coast. And because of COVID, can't go to the facility, can't be around the players, can't be near anybody. Literally, they were almost like imprisoned in their house. And he fought through that and got healthy. And then 2021,
awesome.
Right. And then 2021, he injured his knee and started the season on I think unable to IR, short-term IR, and they got put on the practice squad. However, all that to say this, the dude balled out on Saturday night. He had 9 catches for 77 yards. One of them is all over Twitter. It was a highlight reel catch. He's a guy that literally, if the Bills don't protect him, is going to end up on another roster. From a locker room experience standpoint, because I'm sure it happened with you guys, is there a measure of like, we're not keeping that guy, but he ain't going to be unemployed long?
Oh, yeah. And you can tell, right? You could tell guys are like, they're not, they're going to go start another career.
Right.
And then that's a guy, and you're like, oh, if we could only keep that guy.
Right.
And and that's why you become a fan. I think as a player, you become a fan of other players, and especially now because of social media, you can keep those relationships stronger than you could previously because you're separated by technology, time, and distance, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a great problem to have, man. If you're Sean McDermott, and Brandon Beane, it's a great problem to have at that position group. But he'll play.
If you're the GM or the head coach, where is your thought process? You've got a guy in Jake Kummerow who is a seasoned vet when it comes to special teams, right? He can catch. He can contribute and he's got 1 touchdown with the Buffalo Bills against the Denver Broncos, I think 2 years ago, versus a guy that you drafted, albeit late because of an injury, 6th round, but shows incredible promise, a guy that you could have for the next 4 to 6 years. Is there weight in that longevity opportunity versus a dude that's a little bit longer in the tooth? If there's equal contribution there on special teams, I'm going to get a 1-for-1 for these guys on special teams. Mm-hmm. Do you go with the guy that's younger, or do you go with the guy that's maybe been in the system, played a little bit more?
I think that this regime, so to speak, is more likely to keep Hodgins if you have to make a call right now, right? Because you want a guy that's, in your culture, right? That's younger. You can still mold / manipulate, whatever wording you want to choose. You get a deeper buy-in. Somebody who's a little bit longer is like, hey, I've been around, man. I'll make it work wherever I go. You kind of want people chugging the Kool-Aid, right. And that's just my opinion. A guy that's it's been around the position group a little bit longer, has some deeper relationships, and that's where I end up on that. What about you? Are you in the same, or do you want the savvy veteran to be able to step in?
I'm actually out on OBJ. So, like, for me, I don't want the savvy veteran. I think they've got all the talent or all the pieces that they need. I think I agree with you.
Wait a minute. Did you say pizzas?
Maybe.
Did you say they have all the pizzas they need? Because I could use a pizza right now.
Well, you're in Buffalo, and Picasso's Pizza sponsors. I got $50 that says if you called Picasso's Pizza right now and said, "This is John Fina. I just finished the Off Tackle with John Fina show with Buffalo Rumblings. You guys sponsor our show. Send me a pizza." They will.
Do they have a location at the Seneca Niagara Casino? Because that's where I'm housed right now.
I think they would make it happen. I bet you they would make it happen if you did that.
Could they slather a little Q42 on it?
Well, that's a great segue. So let's do that real quick. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show. Here on the Buffalo Rumblings vidcast network. My name is Joe Miller, sitting beside John Fina, and we're going to talk about Q42. John's going to give you a little bit of information about them.
Hey, Q42, Bridget and Iman, great people. Saw them this weekend at Fina Fest. Yep. Grills Mafia, expectations for your Buffalo Bills are at an all-time high. The last time they were this high, I was in uniform. With elevated on the field expectations comes elevated tailgate expectations. Don't forget, be world-class in your tailgate. Get things fired up with the quintessential tailgate essential from Iman. We're talking about Q42 sauces and rubs. The KC sauce it's really everything you want. Sweet, tangy, touch of heat, made with local honey. Favorite in my house. The Carolina is a fusion of bold vinegar and sweetness from that same local honey while packing a big mustard punch. I love it. KC Sweet Rub is a crowd pleaser. Goes on anything and everything. Meat, veggies, potatoes, you name it. The Texas Brisket Coffee Rub I have recent experience with is incredible. It's made for beef, coarse pepper, salt, and spices blended with Tim Hortons coffee. Get your bottle of Q42 Barbecue at Q42barbecue.com. Use the code, all caps, Fina Show, to get your 15% off. Enjoy Q42. Enjoy Bills Mafia.
Awesome. What are we expecting going forward? So next expectations, we got 2 games left, right? So
who's next?
Denver Broncos in Buffalo, 1:00 Saturday. But what are you watching for? What are you looking for with the last couple minutes of the show? What are you looking for from an expectation standpoint from the preseason on the rest of the way out?
You know what? I mean, at the risk of sounding glib or, typical, it's got to be more of the same. It's got to be that energy, right? It has to be everybody, the pressure, and there's real pressure from McDermott, from Bean to perform in the preseason. And unless I miss my guess, I'm sure they've talked to the players about, you're building your resume right now.
That's right.
So my expectation is that you're not going to see anybody slacking. You're going to see Spectre flying around the field, right? You're going to see Blackshear flying around the field. We'll see more from Hodgins. They are going to showcase the seconds and thirds again, right? I mean, I'm a little surprised we didn't see Josh in the first game and the rest of the starters, but given the decisions that have to be made, the guys that need to be on the field are going to be on the field at least 3/4 of this game. So look for high intensity, look for guys really, marketing themselves.
We didn't talk about it, but give me your impressions of that defense, primarily the second string defense, playing against primarily the first string offense of the Colts, to include Matt Ryan, Michael Pittman, everybody but Jonathan Taylor. And I'm going to be honest with you, Nyheim Hines isn't exactly a huge drop off. Nyheim Hines is Quentin Nelson was out there and got trucked a couple times by Tim Settle. and Quentin Nelson is widely regarded as the best offensive guard in football. And Tim Settle shoved him back one time. What was your just impression of how the defense played? And I would even say specifically the corners.
Well, that really came to the front in the broadcast that Tasker eloquently talked about. There was really nice coverage. I mean, and what I noticed too was the pursuit was there. Yeah. So, it's an impossible job to play corner, right? But when your guy gets free, how far away are you from making the tackle? Who's responding from the other side? So the pursuit was really great. I love the energy of the front four. Like you said, I mean, there was movement You know, they were establishing the line of scrimmage a little bit further back than the Indianapolis starting offensive line would appreciate. I mean, that's the nicest way to say it, but they were bringing it. It keeps the linebackers free, and there was real fly around activity at the second level, which, I mean, you got to have that. It's such a hard position to play in the NFL. If you're a linebacker, you got to be all things all the time. And, you know, I think we have a pretty nice little mix here of guys with great instincts that can play long and that can play big.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch going forward, just that linebacker group, the cornerback group, the wide receiver group. I think, you know, everything is kind of played out in a lot of the other areas, but we'll see. For me, you know, what I'm taking away from the rest of the preseason, obviously health. I want guys to be healthy. The Bills find a way to find injuries on guys that they want to keep around for a couple more weeks. You know, this dude will.
My arm.
It's broken. My arm. Exactly. Rodney Dangerfield, Caddyshack, in case any young people are in the chat. They're going to find some way to stash some guys, as any good GM will. But I'm excited to see that battle between Kumaro and Hodgins. I'm excited to see that battle between Benford and Elam. I'm excited to see that battle between, you know, Spector and the new, I forget his name, Tyrell, the other linebacker that's there.
Bernard.
Yeah, Tyler Bernard. Or Terrell Bernard, sorry. It's going to be good. So did you see both punts, or did you not get to both punts?
I saw Hack's punt.
Yep.
Hawk. I saw Hawk. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry. I forgot my pronunciation. God. And then I did see Matt Ariza's punt on, you know, it was all over Twitter. I mean, I can't really miss it. That was the
biggest
shocking.
The biggest point in that game, and I'm probably willing to call the battle over, was not the punt. So Matt Hawk's punt was from, I think, R45 or something like that, or somewhere around there within 5 or 10 yards. He put the ball inside the 12, which is what you want from a punter.
Yeah, good punt.
Matt Ariza crushed the football and just kicked the bejesus out of it, right? But what decided it, in my opinion, and probably did, is that you'll get to the end of the game when you watch the rest of it. It came down to a game-winning kick. Matt Ariza's on the field. We know Tyler Bass can do his job. We know Reed Ferguson can snap the football. We have no trouble there. But I promise you, Matt Ariza in that moment was thinking, I don't want to leave this field muffing this hold and having us tying a preseason football game that's in our grasp. There's no way that his hand, when he was in his stance, wasn't out there with his little finger shaking a little bit. Like that was a huge rep for him. Do you agree? Like, that's a situation that worked out perfectly for the Buffalo Bills. There's no way they could have even like created that. You can't create that moment in practice, in camp. I don't care what the 2-minute drill is. When you're out there in uniform and the other dudes are in their uniforms, even if it's preseason, tie or win, that was a big rep for him.
Oh, I agree. You know, showing competence like that, right? I mean, it looks like an easy thing to do. I don't know if anybody's ever taken a knee and taken a snap, you know, coming at like 100 miles an hour. And that, you know, the ball, everybody knows it's not soft. No. It's not soft at all. And then they catch that thing.
Unless you're Tom Brady and you've deflated it, then it might be.
Yeah, right. And then you got to give it that right spin. Laces out, Dan. It's right. It's not an easy thing to do, man. They're real specialists. I don't know. I don't like to make decisions like that, but it'll be a good battle, and I think they'll battle them pretty deep. I mean, unless you got some sort of you've made your decision, then you can let Hawk go or Ariza go because you like them both and you want them to catch on early. They could take them deep into the last cut. I don't know what the world of punting looks like for that. I mean, it's all foreign to me. I will say this though, since we're coming close to time. Mm-hmm. You know, I watched the broadcast on the replay, and there was a buzz in the stadium. Like, who shows up and makes noise at a preseason game except Buffalo Bills fans,
Dude, the red versus blue scrimmage 2 Fridays ago, the whole lower bowl was full. There was people in the clubs and the upper decks. They were doing the wave. They were doing the wave at a scrimmage, bro.
But just, I mean, audible on the broadcast, you know, and when you're a broadcaster, you raise your voice when you hear ambient noise because the booth is open. So whatever, you know, your mic's picking up your voice, but it's also picking up ambient sound. So when the crowd gets up, your energy has to get up. You broadcast louder, and you could hear it, you know, in Murphy and Tasker's voices. They had to pick it up a little bit. That's impressive.
It was great.
God, I want all the playoff games at home, man.
Me too, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by the Market Dominator on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network, presented by Picasso's Pizza. We're going to go ahead and get on out of here and get you guys ready for the second preseason game. But John, any final words?
Keep it up, Bills Mafia. Keep delivering in the stadium. You know, keep the good vibes coming. Keep it positive on your social media. You know, we don't need anybody calling people out, saying silly things. Just keep it all positive, man. Shake your hands with your neighbor. Do something nice for somebody you don't know tomorrow. And, you know, just spread joy, spread love. And, hey, man, be good people. Do what you can.
This is going to be an incredible year. Don't ruin it by being a jerk, right? Like, let's all take it. Let's all get there together.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way of saying it. Joe Miller, you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. You can find that guy over there on Twitter at John Fina. And would love to have you guys follow us both, interact with us, let us know what you think of the show. And if you enjoyed it, retweet it, all that good kind of stuff. But for me, for John Fina, for the Market Dominator, for House Capital, for Q42, for Buffalo Rumblings, for Picasso's Pizza, man, the list is long and distinguished. Yeah, there's another joke in there from a movie, but it is what it is. So, but I don't know. I got nothing left. Joe, go Bills.